Morning. Well, I'm honored to be here in front of you today to discuss your new church. And part of this process, I want to talk a couple things. I want to tell you about who A.D. Miller is. We've been working with the church over the last year on this project. I want to talk about where we've been, what we've gone through to get to this point. First, I'll tell you a little bit about who we are, who A.D. Miller is, and then we'll talk about where we've been and where we're going. This is a really exciting time for any church to be building a new foundation for their faith, their growth, and their future. So I'm honored to be a part of it. A.D. Miller's honored to be a part of it. And there's a number of members of your church that have worked hard over the last year or two to make this happen. So let me tell you a little bit about A.D. Miller. So we're a mid-market commercial construction company. We were founded in 1979, so this is our 40th anniversary this year, which is a huge accomplishment. I'm a third-generation builder. My father started the company, as well as his identical twin brother. We've never had a lawsuit. We've never failed to complete work, and we've never had a judgment or claim. We're really proud of that. We're here to be a good construction partner and build partner for all our clients. We're a little different, and the principals of the firm are deeply engaged in the build process. So over the last year, I've worked with John, the building committee members, as a pre-construction manager. I always know I'm in trouble when John tells me he loves me. So, it's been a lot of effort to get to this point. Our logo or our motto is called Building on Higher Ground. Part of that is because we build a lot of churches. We build a lot of faith-based schools. And what does that mean? It means quality construction, it means ethical conduct, and it means competitive pricing. So for us, what do we do? How do we go about it? So project types we build, I obviously mentioned a lot of religious projects and faith-based schools, but we also do financial, medical, office, retail, pretty much any general commercial construction you would see in the state, we perform that type of work. Project delivery methods range from design, bid, build, where a plan set is developed and then bid on, to CM at risk, which is a negotiated project, and design, bid, build. Or design, build, excuse me. For this project, we designed and built the mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, and we're part of that design process with the architect. Construction types: new builds, additions, occupied remodels, phased remodels. Project sizes from 100,000 to 20 million plus in project size. So we're a company structure focused on mid-market projects. This is the type of project that you guys have as far as the size. And that's our specialty. That's where we have a niche, and that's where we're extremely competitive. Our project team and build experience. So we have a highly engaged and experienced project team, both in pre-construction and construction. The project team stays with the project throughout its entirety. I've worked on this project for over a year. I will be the primary point of contact for the project and the lead project manager. I've been in the trenches. I know the plans, I know the specs, and I know what we're trying to achieve and trying to do that in a cost-effective and timely way. We have the capability and capacity to successfully complete the project for you. We're expert builders with a depth of experience. We'll have a full-time site superintendent on your project who's been in the industry and built buildings for the last 30 years. We're really excited about partnering with you guys on this project. It's been a journey, as it often is, and we're coming to the point where now we get to enjoy that process. Build a building, lay the foundation for your faith and your church going forward. Team construction methodology. How do we go about it? It's not just me as the builder, or the architects, or the designers of the church. Collectively, we are a team trying to execute a project, and we need each other, and we need to make sure that we're working in conjunction to achieve the project goals. This is your house. This isn't my house. It's going to be here long after I'm gone. And so for us, we want to make sure that we are working in conjunction to achieve the goals of the church and the congregation members and deliver a beautiful new home for them. And we're confident in our ability and our project team to execute the project. I'll touch a little bit about some of the technology that we utilize. We utilize Procore, which is a cloud-based construction management tool. So all the project photos, RFIs, submittals, things of that nature are placed in a cloud-based environment so you have visibility throughout the project. But also the documentation of how it was built, what was done as built, warranty letters, products, materials, means, and methods as part of this process, all documented. We utilize best practices and technology, Bluebeam OST. This is a school here that's done in Revit and is a three-dimensional model. So you can see how it's being built in combination. So we've built the project in a virtual environment before we build it in the actual field. So we've done that with this project and continue to work through those designs. Why work with A.D. Miller? We have built over 200 churches in the state of Colorado. I'll briefly show you a few that we've built, and I'll show you a couple others in time lapse, and you can actually see us build it. But we're a company structure that drives value and understands church construction. Furthermore, we have cost transparency and ethical conduct. I share all of our costs with the building committee. We review them together. Oftentimes in construction, you ask, how do I know I'm getting a good price? It's a challenge that everybody faces when they're building something, from a remodel of their bathroom to a large project like building a church. Well, the best way you can do that is build a relationship and provide transparency in the process. What are the costs? What are the bids? And we do that part. And the building committee has been involved in that process so far, and that's a continuation. So we can make sure that we're driving value, we're saving costs on the project. We have a subcontractor base. As we've bid this project, we've had over 300 subcontractors across the Front Range participate in this process. So a depth of proposals, costing, and things of that nature that make sure that, again, we're driving value, we're getting as much as we can and getting it out at the best price possible. A straightforward and honest fee structure, an integrated approach that reduces cost. We talk about it a little bit, A.D. Miller, but it's pretty simple. Plan the work, work the plan. Plan the work, work the plan. And that's how we execute, how we do it in a timely way, but also in a cost-effective way. So I just want to run through a few churches. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. Like I said, we've built over 200 churches for remodels, additions, ground up, occupied, while they're still practicing in the facility. This is Our Lady of Snow in Granby. This is the Church of the Risen Christ in Denver off Monaco. We've done 3 phases on that church. You might recognize it because it kind of looks like a ski slope. This is South Suburban Christian Church. This is off Broadway. We've worked with that church on 5 different project phases. This is St. Lawrence. This is Landmark Tabernacle in Lakewood. The sanctuary is 1,500 seats. This is Living Hope Baptist. We just completed this project last year. I'll show you a time lapse of it so you can actually see us build it. But we just completed this project. Full church plus ancillary facilities, classrooms, daycare, church administration offices, warming centers, as well as sanctuary and welcome center. True Light Baptist in Denver. Central Christian Church in Denver and Cherry Creek. The Church of the Rocks Southwest, Atonement Lutheran in Littleton. St. Luke's United Methodist in Highlands Ranch. BMH BJ Congregation in Denver. Summit Church in Centennial. St. Ignatius of Loyola downtown, which was a historic renovation. So that's what we do, and that's part of it. But let's talk about where we've been from a project perspective. I wanted to give you a little background about A.D. Miller, but let's talk about your project, where we've been, where we're going. So let's talk a little bit about where we've been. Okay. Initial project was designed. We were one of the contractors selected to cost the project at that time and solicited that way. The project initially was had a basement, was quite a bit larger. When the costs came in, they came in excess of $7 or $8 million. And from a cost perspective, that wasn't palatable as far as where you guys want to be cost-wise, but maybe also there was some additional future need growth that needed more of a bite-sized approach given where we were at. So then what happened is a complete project redesign to reduce project costs. Heavy involvement of the building committee. So architectural, civil, landscape, utilities, all mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineering, the foundation systems working through, the extensive review, and ended up on a structural floor system, which is one of the most sturdy foundation systems you can have for a building. That process took some time to get back to a place that the church is buildable from a cost perspective. And then resubmittal for the site development plan. That is on all the updated design. That's City of Centennial, SIM-SWA, which is Southeast Metro Stormwater Authority, South Metro Fire Department, and Aqua, which is Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Authority. So all these jurisdictions had to participate in this process to approve the church. I just completed a project in Centennial off of Briarwood next to Walmart. It was a Navy Federal Credit Union. They're the largest financial credit union in the whole world. They have all available resources to them. It took them a year and a half to get through this process in the City of Centennial. So it is a challenging process and can be, but at this point we have gotten through that process. We've worked through it and got the approval. So there's approval on the SDP from all the jurisdictions, which allows ready to submit for building permit, but also allows you to have a grading and utility and start work on the actual building. So that is a huge hurdle. I cannot emphasize that process. A lot of times as church start this, they don't understand what it takes from a development side to develop a raw piece of ground and build a church on it. It is a challenging process. It can take time, and that process has been worked through, and now at the end of that, from a jurisdiction and authority perspective. So what does that mean from a timing? Well, less than 60 to 75 days from the ability to start construction. Technically, you could start today if you wanted to, but obviously there's some logistics and some things that need to be worked through. During that time, while we are waiting, the building committee and the contractor went to these jurisdictions and asked them, this is a growing church. This is not a commercial business, and asked for variances for cost savings. So with the City of Centennial, we saved an additional $135,000 in additional fees. With SIM-SWA, they reduced it over $41,000. And then with Aqua, we were able to reduce the tap size to a 1.5, which saved another over $110,000. So while this may not show up on the build side, it is tangible cost. And while this was going on, the team was working to make sure that we're saving money in other ways to be efficient with the build and make sure that we're driving the value of the building as far as it can go. So that's where we've been, but let's talk about where we're going. So next step, and start a construction. So close out the SDP process with the required collateral. That allows us to start the project whenever we want from a grading and utility permit perspective. Okay. This is a rendering of the church. This is generally what it'll look like. It is an absolutely beautiful facility. So when that starts, we need to finalize and submit for the final building permit. All those documents are ready and to submit. At this point, you guys put a halt on some things, and we're working through some things, so that stopped the process. Sounds like we're ready to go. And so that's where we're at from that side. So it's coordinate construction start, formal groundbreaking ceremony, and start building. So here's a preliminary schedule estimate of where we're at and what to anticipate from a start side. So pre-construction activities and procurement and logistics. This is a very busy construction environment. As everybody knows who lives in Denver, we drive around, there's construction everywhere. So planning, procurement, scheduling is really critically important. No one is sitting on their couch waiting for me to call them to start work. So we've got all these people set up, ready to go. Now we need to put them on the schedule and get them moving forward. So we have an 8 to 12 week lead time. Groundbreaking ceremony. Start a project, site and utility work. Like I mentioned, you are approved right now to put a shovel into the ground. We still have the building permit to get approved, but what we do to save time is run these processes in parallel. So while we are starting the site work and the utility work, we are also getting the general building permit. Now, our building permit review is about 8 to 12 weeks, but anticipated groundbreaking start is May or June of 2019. So we are less than 60 days from putting a shovel in the ground, getting out the gold shovels, and doing a groundbreaking ceremony. An absolutely huge accomplishment. Building over 200 churches, it takes a lot of effort and persistence to get to this point from a church perspective. But I have seen those that continue to work through that, and they have the growth and the foundation, and it really propels the church when the building is complete. But it is a process. So, as I said, groundbreaking, May, June 2019, not too far. Building and permitting and review will run in parallel to this process, with an anticipated release in June or July in 2019. That keeps it a continuous construction process, picks up some time, but also allows us to move forward and expeditiously. Construction is 10 to 11 months. Initially, we were going to be ready around Christmas of next year, so you could celebrate. At this point, we're looking at Easter of 2020. So it's 10 to 11 months. And that's an honest schedule. I'd love to build it faster for you, and everybody asks me that question. But this is our duration, and this is a quick build, but also an efficient build. So that's our timeline, and that's our goal from that side. We talk about what else are we doing. So are we just waiting over these next 60 days? No, we are not. There's a lot to do. We have permitting. Excel Gas and Power is scheduled. Data and Telecom. Any of the other components that are part of that are being scheduled, procured, put in place. These are long lead items. The Excel Energy does nothing fast. I hope no one works at Excel Energy here. So we want to get ahead of those processes. Scheduling is critical. I mentioned this before. Plan the work, work the plan. We want to be efficient in the build. We want to build this building as quickly as we can so that you guys can get in there and start enjoying the building. One of the things that is really important, as I mentioned, this is your building. This is not my building as the contractor. This is your building. This is your building now and going forward. So it's really important that we have a congregational involvement in the process. So we want to work as a partner to build excitement and actively engage church members. How do we do that? We want to connect them to the structure in a unique way because it's more than just a building. So we do utilize pre-planned services and activity on the site while the construction's going on. You can see here's one of our churches, scripture passage and messages on structural components, names, people. Who was part of this when this journey was going through? Your name, your favorite scripture passage, your family's name on the inside of the walls forever. And that's, I think, something that really is important to continue to do that. Lunch events with contractors and groundbreaking ceremonies and time gifts. I'm always buying lunch. You know that, John. But those are things that we can do to galvanize. Again, we want you to participate in this. We want to be part of this process. Construction does not need to be a painful process. It's an enjoyable process. I often make this reference, but once everybody forgets the labor pains when they have the baby, right? And this church is the baby. The labor pains are going through the city, fundraising, and building it. But then at the end, all that starts to melt away and you get to enjoy a beautiful new church. So one of the things that we do, in addition to some of the ceremonies, groundbreaking, gold shovels, all those things to kick off and build excitement, is a project camera. So this is a live feed of your project. You can see it from your phone. You can see it from your computer. You can have John call me and say, my break was over 15 minutes ago. But I want to pull up a church here. This is a church we recently completed. This is Living Hope. This is one of the churches I showed you we just completed within the last year. This is a live camera look of every single day of this church construction. This provides a live look at the project at any time and any point of the construction process. This is something that you can place on your website. You can show everybody that's interested in the church, part of the church, what's going on right now and embed this. And then after the fact, we provide a full time lapse of the project as well. So it gives a good visibility into this process. Essentially, that's the process. Overall, there's been a lot of work, a lot of effort to get to this point. And it's not unique. It's not unique to churches. It's not unique to general commercial construction processes. You're at the point where now everything is approved with the municipality. And I've mentioned this before, but I really do mean it. That is a Herculean task at times, even for people that are well-versed in the development criteria and process. So at this point, you have a church ready to build and the potential direction for a new home. I can't be more proud and honored to be potentially a part of this process with you all. Again, I get to drive by these. These facilities are here long after I'm gone. And the fact that they serve your community, your growth, is actually extremely important to us. And this is why we do it. When we talk about building on higher ground, building churches, this is why we do it, to help churches with their build processes, to help them develop a beautiful church at the end of the day that they can call their home. And that's an important process, and it's a lengthy process, and you guys are right here. So I'm extremely proud to be part of that process and really look forward to working with each and every one of you throughout it. So while this is rolling, John, I can open it up to questions. I thought you told me you're going to put the hot spotlight on me, but that's okay. I'll take it without it. And I can kind of just answer any questions that anyone may have.
Question pertaining to the project moving forward, guys. Moving forward.
You guys are making it too easy on me.
Can we have site visits?
Site visits, absolutely. So one of the things that we talk about is, we talked about pre-planned services, site visits. This is your church. So as long as we're being safe and we coordinate it, there's opportunities to have site visits, to have service out in the church and do various things that help, again, engage the congregation, make it feel tangible. You're actually standing there and you're seeing it. And so that's something that we really want to encourage. We plan those so that we can all see the project, see what's going on, feel it, live it, touch it. And I think that's something that we all enjoy doing. It's hard to see when it's on a plan, it's on a sheet. Not everyone can visualize what that means and what you get. And so I think that's something that we definitely want to encourage.
What's your process for quality control?
So we have a full quality control manual, and good question. Part of that is reliable subcontractors, people that we have experience with and expertise that have proven that they can build things over and over with the quality that's expected, and also in the schedule and duration required. In addition to full-time site supervision, myself, superintendents, people out there looking and feeling the project every day, working through issues, and making sure that we deliver a high-quality product. Good question. Sure.
We cannot operate in it until it's completely done.
So you can have, what I kind of mentioned a little bit, we can have specialty services on the weekends, but you cannot formally occupy the church until it is completed, has a certificate of occupancy from the city of Centennial. But we can do some activities during that process as long as we are not fully occupying. Now, I would have service every weekend there. Unfortunately, they would frown upon that. But select opportunities, absolutely. Once it's closed out, then it's yours.
Do they give the final permit after landscaping is done and everything is done?
They give it, what they call the certificate of occupancy. And that's after landscape's completed, all your building permits have been completed, and you've closed out with all the jurisdictions. So one thing that's a little bit unique in Colorado, but in Centennial in particular, you have 6 different jurisdictions that review and approve your project during it. Part of the process, why I say it's difficult, is because you have to individually submit to each one of those entities. So that's part of something that we're used to. We do a lot of work in the city of Centennial. Our company is based in Centennial. We're currently doing a municipal project at City Centennial Park with the city of Centennial right now. So we're very familiar with the process, but it is navigating those waters a little bit, making sure that we're getting everything the way it needs to be done, closing out our permits expeditiously, and getting you into the church. So the building committee members or whoever wants to participate in that process has access to Procore. So that includes all the site photos. And then there's also some additional things which maybe some people want to see and some don't. Submittals, RFIs, things of that nature, which some may want to look at or not. But otherwise, the visual aspects of there, all the due diligence aspects are in there, and all the project documents are in there as well. And then also the site cam is linked to it as well. So photos every day, plus live cameras, and then all the subsequent documents and information there.
A comment was made about the soil. It's a very special soil. Do you have any concerns?
So In Colorado, not just necessarily with your site, we have a very clay-based soil, which means it's expansive. It shrinks and swells with moisture. So this is not an uncommon thing necessarily in Colorado, but you do have those soil conditions present on your site. One of the things when we were working through in the due diligence period with the building committee is you have soil conditions that have a high likelihood of expansion. And so what does that mean? That means that a traditional shallow foundation system, something that you would build a house on, is not always well suited for this type of building. Because we, at the top of the dome, we're 55 feet high, right? This is a large building. It is very tall. So one of the things that was worked through is a way to mitigate any risks with the soil, okay? Both on the site as well as the building. And what that ultimately ended up being was a structural foundation system. So that's piers, grade beam, and a structural floor. This mitigates the movement risk of the soil so that the church is actually anchored into bedrock with deep piers. And that's part of what we've worked through. It is a more of a premium system than a traditional foundation system. But we talk about this church being here long after we're all here and gone. And that's one of the things that Assures that does is addressing those soil conditions, looking at them, and then complementing it with a design that's appropriate. And so we've worked through that, and ultimately landed on something that's going to protect the church and protect the facility going forward with something that's a really robust design. Good question.
Is there any restricted time for presentation?
There's no restricted time. So City of Centennial has some work hours requirements on the contractor side, when we can start and when we can end. As far as site visits, as long as they are coordinated. The one thing is, I want everybody to be there and see and feel it, but more than that, I want everybody to be safe. And so as long as we coordinate those site visits where we have a safe environment, you're walking with someone with us, we have hard hats and PPE on, then there's no problem visiting the site. But again, I want to make sure everybody's safe, not just the people that are visiting, but all the workers there too. So it's of the utmost importance that we're all safe during that process. But I encourage you all to participate and come and see the building. We just want to do that in a coordinated and safe way.
What are your work hours?
So in City of Centennial, they technically do not allow you to perform heavy work before 7 a.m. And unfortunately, we like to start around 6 a.m., but we adjust accordingly. When you're inside the church, once we're working inside, that's not as big of a concern, but all the equipment and things of that nature can get the neighbors riled up, so they do have some limits on our construction starts and ends, which is 5 o'clock on the backside. Well, I just want to, again, thank you all for the opportunity to come here and speak to you. Work through the process and continue to work with all the fine people of the church that have spent a lot of time. I know Father John has been to my office probably more times than they'd like to admit, as well as on various phone calls. So I appreciate all the effort that the congregation, the building committees put in and working with us to get to this point. So I really do appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to thank Adam and Nick for coming in here today. And I want to make just a quick comment. Without Safwat help in the last year and a half, we could not be where we are today. So I want to thank Safwat again for everything he did. Lisa and Mitch will be working with us moving forward, and we are looking forward for a great build and a great church. Thank you, everyone.